So ladies, there's a guy you want to take on a date. Well, in my opinion, there's 4 things you should consider so you don't mess this up. I'm Zach Fazio from Texas. In this series, I've been giving you guys some tips on how to take an average date to an amazing date. Now, this is just my advice, and some of this stuff may work for you, some of it may not work for you. Now, as a Christian, I only asked other Christian women on dates. There were a few situations where some of the women in the church asked me on a date. It was fun, it was a great experience, but I noticed that they would just flip the roles, so that everything I would have done for them on a date, now they were doing for me on a date. So today I want to talk to the ladies. If you plan on taking a guy on a date in the future, regardless of whether you're single or you're in a relationship with a guy you already love, here's a few things to consider I think most men appreciate on dates. Some of the things that really encourage women may not always encourage men. So for example, a lot of women appreciate it when a guy pays for everything on a date. Now, while guys certainly don't love to pay for things, imagine you took a guy to a nice restaurant, and when the bill came, you pulled out your credit card and paid for both meals in front of the waiter and all the waitstaff. Many men would feel really uncomfortable with that and may think about it the whole night. So I'm not saying don't spend a lot of money on a date, and I'm also not saying that guys need to pay for their half of the date. Some guys would actually even want the opportunity to pay for some part of the date versus you just dishing out hundreds of dollars on the date thinking every dollar spent builds up his encouragement bank. Another thing I think women typically appreciate is a good conversation on a date. Many women could talk for an hour, 2 hours, or more, but for a lot of guys, we're not necessarily looking forward to a deep, meaningful conversation if you're taking us on a date. A lot of guys could be fine with 15 minutes of a conversation. And lastly, those little acts of attentiveness that men often do for women, such as buying flowers and picking them up and driving them home and holding the door open for them. A lot of guys feel awkward when women do those things for them. A guy might feel insecure if you pay for him at a restaurant, but I really doubt he'll feel insecure if you cook him a meal, even if you spent more money on that meal. Imagine this, you're hosting a double date at your house and the guys show up at the door. When they get there, you tell them the food is already prepared. Then you prepare the table for them with all the plates and you bring the food right to them and you guys enjoy a fantastic home-cooked meal together. Then after the meal is over, you pick up all the plates and all the silverware and you tell them, oh, don't worry about washing the dishes, we'll take care of it ourselves. You see what I'm saying? Now, if the guy offers to help you cook the food, sure, if you want the help, take the help. Or if the guy offers to wash the dishes, you can take the help there too. But in my opinion, a lot of guys would love it if you would just take that responsibility off their shoulders and let them enjoy the date. In my experience, when I took women on dates, the activity we did was not as important as the conversation we had. But I want you to consider, if your goal is to encourage a guy, those 2 things might be flipped for him. I suggest that you pick an activity he already loves to do, or an activity he's told you he would like to do. Please don't pick some random thing that he might do just to entertain you. So for example, while some guys might love to just go for a walk in the park and feed the ducks, there's a significant number of guys on the planet who would prefer to go biking, or mountain climbing, or watch a football game, or literally anything else. I think a lot of men have a deep emotional need to know that you are having a good time on the date. So for example, if my wife Ashley took me on a date and we did something that I love to do, but throughout the date, if I kept turning over to look at her and she had this facial expression, suddenly all the happiness that was built up in me is just crushed. A lot of guys just want to know that the woman is also having fun. And if they're not having fun, then the guy is not having fun. So, even if you are bored out of your mind on this date and you would rather be anywhere in the world, don't show it. It's not about you. You're taking him on a date. Make it an amazing date for him. So you don't have to do all 4 of these things every time you take a guy on a date. In my opinion, this is the #1 most important tip I can offer you today. I personally believe most men have a deep emotional need for women to give them affirmation. Tell him how much you appreciate the things that he does. Tell him how much you respect him. Tell him how much you admire him. Those words may be the only thing he remembers from that date. In the same way though, if you say something negative or something that conveys disrespect, those words may be the only thing he remembers from that date. Now I get it, not everyone is going to approve of this video. So whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. We really are a small team here in San Antonio, Texas. Nathan and I film and edit almost all of these videos. So if you love what we do, please consider going to KidogoToolbox.com where you can become a monthly supporter. But for now, that's just another tool for your toolbox.